Now let us discuss polysaccharides. We know polysaccharides are those type of carbohydrates which on hydrolysis gives many units of monosaccharides. The most commonly seen polysaccharide is the starch. Remember, starch is a polymer of alpha glucose, alpha D glucose. Now, it is mainly consists of two components. The starch is made up of two components called amylose and amylopectin. Now, amylose is a type of a starch which is basically is an unbranched chain of alpha D glucose, which consists of about 200 to 1000 units of the alpha D glucose, which are held by, as I've explained it to you, by C1C4 glycosidic linkages or bond. Now this type of starch, which constitutes about 15 to 20% of the total starch, is water soluble. The other type or other component of the starch is called amylopectin. It has a branched structure. So it's a branched polymer of alpha D glucose, which is having C1C4 bond, which leads toward linear polymerization, and C1C6, which leads toward branching, both type of glycosidic linkages. It constitutes about 80 to 85% of the starch, and it is water insoluble. The second type of polysaccharide is cellulose. It is one of the most abundant type of the compound we have, or the molecular species we have in the plant kingdom. It mainly exists in the cell walls of the plants, and that is why which makes it most abundant substance or most abundant biomolecule in the plant kingdom. The cellulose basically is a straight chain or a linear polymer of beta D glucose. So that's the basic difference. Starch is the polymer of alpha glucose, whereas cellulose is a polymer of beta glucose. And in which what we find is the units are held by the C1C4 glycosidic linkages or bond. We know cellulose, humans cannot digest cellulose. Only ruminating animals, which have 4 stomachs, basically are able to digest this. That is why whenever we take vegetables or fruits, we try to peel out their skins, because the skin contains mainly the cell walls of those plant cells, which are very rich in the cellulose. The another third type of polysaccharide we have is glycogen. Glycogen is also called animal starch because its structure is very, very similar to amylopectin. Even in fact it is more branched than the amylopectin, but chemically it is very similar to amylopectin. That is why we call it the animal starch. The animals store their excess of carbohydrates in the form of their starch in liver, muscles and brain. Now whenever the body is in need of the excess the carbohydrates, enzymes break down this glycogen, which is stored in these places, into glucose. So that is why these are the polysaccharides we have.